Well, today our adventurers depart the train that's been circling the gate towns in the outer plains, and when they get off, they arrive in a gate town known as Plague-Mort. But more importantly, this gate town rests above one of the most notorious outer planes of existence ever in fantasy Dungeons and Dragons. Yes, today we get to talk about the Abyss, and it's a wild, wild place. Um, but let it be known that the Abyss is pure chaotic evil. It is it almost is the embodiment of not making any sense, although we do have to have some kind of boundaries. And they do, if you read some of the lore and history of it, there are there is some sense to be had about the Abyss. But to be honest with you, the Abyss is it is the embodiment of chaos and evil. We get to have a lot of fun about it. So, of course, today on this day of series that we're doing here, our players arrive at our gate town, and I hear you there, so, comment, yeah, talking about all the different layers. As a matter of fact, let's throw up some of the names, and these are in alphabetical order. Let's throw some of the names here for the Abyss, okay? And the number on the layer of the Abyss, if you could kind of consider it a layer, kind of, sort of. Um, and I mean, Aramon Abad and Ark of Eternity, and then Asgarat on the 45th, 46th, and 47th layer, the Black Blizzard, I mean, Burning Water, it goes on and on and on. Kaflag, Gratum, Dark Light. Of course, here at level 66, we got the Demon Web Pits. I remember buying that adventure when it was brand new, because showing my age. The Endless Maze at number 600. We got the Flesh Forges at 558. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Mind of Evil. We got Ice Flow. Mm-mm. All right, so let's leave this here for just a moment. All right. Actually, let me pop my face back here. Shai says, Darklight is fun. You lose your memory. Yeah, it's wild. And for those player character, I don't know if there's any player character, any players out there who would like their player characters to represent chaotic evil. But out of a lot of the planes, I don't know. I think you kind of deserve to be down here if you're acting chaotic evil at the gaming table. Yeah. Sulfuranium is my favorite. The smoking lounge of the Tanari. Yeah, of all the alignment planes, the Abyss has got to have the highest chance of instant death upon entry. Yeah. I mean, how would you prep going down into the Abyss? It's crazy, 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 crazy. All right, so let's rewind a little bit from stepping into the Abyss in the first place. All right, so as we've been talking, and as the thumbnail states, the thumbnails are about the gate towns that lead into the alignment planes. And while um, while alignment is really starting to take a back seat, because frankly, so many of us really don't really like how the alignment system is used. Turn these ads off. Um, Many of us don't like how the alignment system is used and described, and things like that. Planescape is the perfect opportunity for us to delve deep into what they are. And of course, the gate towns, all of the gate towns exist on one plane, the plane of neutrality, concordant opposition. And if we want to introduce new players into this, using the gate towns is a good opportunity. Hey, what's yeah, uh, cats are can be a bit chaotic evil. Shai says, okay, Plague-Mort has got to be the one It moved over. Uh, got to be the one gate town on the lower plains where they try to keep a lot of lawfuls around just to prevent the town from falling into the abyss. Yeah, that's one of the rules, whether the denizens of these places know it or not, is that each gate town cannot be perfectly aligned with that alignment. Otherwise, it would disappear and get absorbed right back into the plane of existence. It would get absorbed right back into the abyss. So, in order for the abyss, this gate town known as Plague-Mort to exist, it has to have elements of other, especially opposing alignments existing in and around it. And so, what is Plague-Mort? Well, it's got plague in the title, so yeah. And then even in the thumbnail, I used the image of the old plague masks, the ones with the long beaks and the goggled eyes. Yeah, it's pretty nasty. There's rampant disease. The place is filled with like sewage and homeless, and it's horrible to live here. Cats are their own alignment. Chaotic feline, yeah. So, of course, the gate town destination are leads to the infinite layers of the abyss. The primary citizens are demons and humanoids, and you're going to find how the two somewhat mix, not just mix in population, but one can lead to the other. Um, and they do have a ruler here. They have it listed as Arc Lector Bex, but in all these gate towns, sometimes, especially the far more chaotic ones, their leadership has a high turnover rate. So Shy Scout Squad will probably remember different leadership in some of the gate towns. Historically, they're just been updated because listen, what I mean, player characters themselves can probably murder kill a bunch of these leaders of these gate towns, but they may also be the cause of the gate town getting absorbed back into the plane or expanding outwards. Yeah. One Eye Heathen says, I don't think the idea of diseases are used enough in TTRPGs. It's an avenue I've always wanted to explore. Trying to stop a plague or even having contracted a plague can make for interesting character development. I hear you say that, um, but the problem is it's not your idea. The problem is how it's implemented in games. And for example, in fifth edition, there is no such thing as lingering effects. So no character in fifth edition would ever suffer from a disease longer than a long rest. And along with characters having the very quick ability to do away with disease or become immune to disease or recover from it with just a couple of saving throws, no character is going to suffer with the disease longer than a few hours, if at all. And when it comes to diseases, the lingering, how do I explain this? Disease, at least things that you contract, tend to extend. They need to be a threat over a long period of time, and that timer for players to be healthy but knowing that they've contracted something like having an alien seed inside of you and you have to hurry up and figure out a way to get it out of you over a period of time. That is an excellent tool we as game masters need. We need to put time pressure on players to get them to do a thing. They can't just hang around, like, let's take another long rest. No, you've contracted this terrible disease. You need to find someone to help cure it. And that time pressure is a great tool that is often unfortunately removed from a lot of game systems, and it's a shame. Yeah, One Eye Heathen says, yeah, yeah. Shai says having any kind of leadership at all should be enough to prevent the gate town from going full chaotic evil and falling in. Maybe unless their leadership is just nothing but brutal and just walking around like just beating people until morale improves. But yes, if they have any leadership qualities, it should be. I can imagine. Okay, whether this is conscious or not, I could imagine missionaries coming from the upper planes to come here to tell people not to go into the abyss, like, please, and trying to have good deeds. And, of course, those individuals would be verbally abused, and there might be some physical abuse, like being spat on and things like that. But I could imagine them existing here. And then that kind of gives it a little bit of that lawful and goodness that is here, even if in a small amount, to keep the gate town from flowing right back into the abyss, which is probably trying to suck it back down as it when you hear about how the gate opens in the first place. Yeah, Heathen says a cleric, an alchemist, and a wizard will all have different approaches to how to stop and investigate and stop a plague, which I think is better as an adventure and a storyline rather than an easy button. You know what I mean? So in the heretical blasphemous 5e, okay, if you fall into the river Styx, is it just like having a hangover or some lame shit like that? Oh man, I'm gonna have to look that up. They don't really go into the river Styx, or what's the other stepchild of that? The river Laith? Yeah. Heathen says, I can see where the mechanics don't make diseases a good plot device, but we can change the mechanics of a specific disease. Exactly. I always felt the easy way would just be to gate poisons and diseases, especially diseases, behind tier levels. So in 5th edition, they have tiers. Like every 5 levels, characters begin going into a different tier of adventure. So like from level 1 to 5-ish are like hometown heroes, 6 to 10, 11 to 15, 16 to 20 ish. And those tier levels, you go from small town hero to local county regional hero to affecting nations to going off into distant worlds and the planes of existence. And if they just gated certain things behind those tiers, the lower tiers won't have the easy button to just use to solve it. And that would have been a very easy way to mechanically, block a thing from players just being able to easily navigate around it. Yeah, Shai says some layers will instantly disease you. One layer made everybody who ever entered it rot to death over years. It has since been interdicted. Ooh. The End King says that 5e should have had illnesses that get worse the more you rest. I agree. Heck, just even having a disease that prevents you from resting in the first place. I mean, how many of us have been sick or injured or something and been unable to sleep peacefully? That's a simple thing to do. Yeah. Some anthropologists consider religion a language virus. Yeah, missionaries might be strangely welcome in a disease-themed town. Wow, I never thought about that. All right, so might and treachery rule in Plague-Mort. Oh, let me put up an image here. We got some demons and their chaotic imagery and things like that. So might and treachery rule in Plague-Mort, an autocratic cesspool teetering on the unhallowed brink of the abyss. Rotting shacks, crumbling stone edifices, and derelict streets lie in the shadow of a silvery keep atop a gray hill. An imposing fortress of demonic construction, Blightsteel Keep towers over the broken town that encircles it, separated by a bubbling moat of black ichor. From within its walls, an iron-hoofed tyrant, the Archlector Bex, strangely enough, a lawful evil Barriar Wanderer, which is a creature in the Mort's Planar Parade. It's like the monster book. Lords over Plague-Mort and its despicable townsfolk, even as they plot against him. Trust has no place here. The citizens of Plague-Mort are a sinister lot, traitors eagerly awaiting the chance to plunge their daggers into each other's backs. They vie against each other to supplant the Archlector, a position prized for its access to demon lords and their dark gifts. The throne's despotic inheritor is doomed to defend the seat from an unending torrent of assassins and usurpers. Their pattern of betrayal has one exception. Periodically, the townsfolk band together to combat the demonic hordes birthed from Plague-Mort's festering gate. So there is a lawful evil leader of this town, and let me see if I can go back to your comment here. Like Shy Squad said, like all you would need really is leadership to keep it from flowing back in. And in a particular way, having this gate town here and having someone protect or defend, murder, kill the people that may be trying to go into the abyss, and the gate that goes into the abyss, as well as things coming back out of it, might be pretty important, especially if it has to do with if you intend on, or you have in the background, the blood war that's happening between the uh, demons and devils. I was about to remember Tanari and Baatsu. Anyway, yeah, yeah, I got stories about not being able to sleep due to medical bullshit. Yep. Drew says, "Hi there. I sadly cannot be live today. Busy, but thought I'd say, well, thank you very much. By the way, I really appreciate it. I know this isn't your cup of tea, Drew. So you're fine stepping away, but I get it. Maybe you can use some of it. Uh, yeah." Heathen says, "Shit, if I don't take pain meds now, I won't be able to sleep." It might be pretty interesting story wise for players to an adventure could be coming to Plague-Mort for no other reason than testing out or finding a way to cure some of the worst diseases in the multiverse. And a player may be able to find some kind of panacea or, I don't know, patient zero or something like that. And this demonic tower is the place that protects. Basically, the gate is nothing but a black hole into nothingness, and some people feel like maybe that's not really a gate. Maybe it's just maybe it's an unmoving sphere of annihilation, essentially. But yeah, who knows? Oh, the back meds. Ooh, oh, there's nothing worse than torso problems, especially your back, if you have sore ribs or something like that. Oh my god. Yeah, back pain is the worst. Back Because back pain spreads to your arms and legs. Ooh, ooh, horrible. Um, Now the regional effects, like I said, as was expressed, if you've got 666 layers of the abyss, which that number might not actually be true, but does it really matter anymore? The Each plane of existence has has its own laws concerning how it operates, and the gate towns have the same thing, even though it's not as pervasive as the other planes of existence. You can actually survive in the gate town, and Plague-Mort has a demon ichor, persistent pestilence, and undead townsfolk. So, for example, under the demon ichor pollutes nearby water sources. Local wildlife that come into direct contact with the unholy gunk acquire demonic attributes such as multiple heads, leathery wings, or writhing tentacles. Um, Nasty stuff. Nasty, nasty stuff. Persistent pestilence. Residents of Plague-Mort display various symptoms of supernatural illness. Townsfolk have sickly complexions and commonly cough up flies or wipe ichor from their dribbling noses. And lastly, dead townsfolk periodically return as skeletons, zombies, and revenants. And combining all that together is just nasty. Yeah, oh man, guinea pigs in the abyss. Congratulations, DBA. You just came up with the best mission for ever going there. Yeah, yeah. And here's the nasty part, and what I love about using the planes of existence. Goodly people, like player characters, right? Or maybe they're sent on a mission by goodly people, are want to experiment or watch experiments done, or allowing people to suffer in Plague-Mort for the sole purpose of trying to come out, survive on the other end by coming up with cures for diseases. But the act of letting people suffer through these things, or even um, uh, how do I say this? Spreading disease, like the United States has the Tuskegee experiments in the United States. They specifically injected people with syphilis and used radiation on unsuspecting human beings to find out what the results were, to air quote find a cure for it, and then maybe that person just gets pulled down further and further into their own I'm just doing it for the good of mankind, and it turns against them and stuff. So yeah, Heathen sciatica, shoulder and neck. Ugh. I, as a letter carrier for over 30 years, that we get phantom pain. It's basically a one part of our body gets sore, and so to alleviate the pain off of that one side of our body or one portion of our body, we start moving the pressure over to another part of our body. So we get phantom pain. It's in the shoulder, and then it's in the hip, and then it's in the knee, then the ankle, and then it goes on a cycle again and again. The N King says Plague-Mort would probably produce the best doctors in the multiverse, though obviously far from ethical. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can imagine a lich coming out of this place. Like they go there as a doctor to help people out, and then at the end of their lichdom, they've become this way because they need to, they know that their experiments have to continue, and then they start sacrificing people and children and things like that, and and instead of healing them, they watch as their bodies, these innocent people, not so innocent people's bodies, start decomposing and stuff, and taking notes while they're sitting there suffering around them and stuff. Yeah. uh, Shay says, so having the party meet in prison is cliche, right? Okay, how about have them meet as guinea pigs for medical science and go straight to the abyss at level one? That's actually, it's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. Like, all right, guys, you wake up and you're strapped down, right? Or the players wake up and they're like, hey, what's going on? And each of them has a different disease. And then, of course, we got have this question, right? Goodly people, won't they instantly be detected in the abyss? Don't they glow in the dark or something? By the way, are lawful goods allowed to send chaotic evils to the abyss in the name of science? Right. I mean, those are great points. I love it. My feeling is the gate towns don't have a way of there isn't any detection of what your alignment is because they all exist on a plane of neutrality. It's basically it's potpourri, it's gumbo, right? So despite the fact that the gate towns are associated with an alignment, the people that live in those gate towns can be pretty much anything. Not that they will want to be, um, but yeah. So if you're lawful good going into a gate town, I mean, your behavior itself might give it away, but I don't think detection is automatic. I think if you go down into the specific planes of existence, you're probably going to stick out like a sore thumb. I mean, hell, what is it? Paladins initially are pretty much immune to disease very early in their careers. Monks the same way. So I think you're going to stick out like a sore thumb by just not having the pox, right? Which to me, adventure wise, and I'm sure this is in the recent 5e monster book, um, reflavor, reskin, reuse, all of this stuff. Living creatures and people that get killed when a player characters try to murder kill them should rise back up as undead. Some of these monsters, if the player characters strike them, or maybe they crit fumble with a 1, or they max crit or something, maybe disease or acid or something splurts out of these individuals. Having undead walk around in their disease themselves, maggots and oozes and disease should be it should be a thing that should make the players pause if they want to murder kill people down in the abyss. Also, in the olden days, I remember paladins could detect evil, and there were some players that would just play lawful stupid and just go. All they would do is detect evil, kill it. Detect evil, kill it, and they'd go into like reasonably normal towns and stuff like that, and try to murder kill people for no reason, at least from perceived from everybody outside. It's like the End King says, during one of these streams, I started imagining the Blood War as an endless World War One, trenches and barbed wire that stretch on for years. Plague-Mort would produce the mustard gas and the trench foot. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too, right? Especially if demons are at the same time the newish demons are exiting the abyss into Plague-Mort to go out into the Blood War, there'd be plenty that want to scurry right back into the gate to go back down into the abyss. And I could see many of them being the weaker ones. They're harmed, they're injured, they're fellows that they were fighting against. Instead of hundreds of them spilling out, there's only half a dozen that are got their tail between their legs trying to scurry back down into the abyss or something like that. And they may be walking around in this town as well. So it's pretty. I don't know. I think another reason why players might want to come here too is to hide, right? Like, the players are being chased. We know players tend to be, they tend not to be on the goodly side sometimes. And so this would be a great place to hide out. It's the last bastion of like, yeah, there's so many backstabbers here and people vying for their own, and hell, people just being chaotic and evil for no other reason than to be cruel to somebody else, that player characters could hide here from the authorities who look around and they're just inundated by all the other crime and evil that's going on. That may be a possibility. Also, it could also be a way to arcanely scrub your tracks so you can't be found. Like, powerful entities are scrying for the PCs, and maybe this isn't necessarily a mechanical feature, but players could hide amongst the overriding amount of chaos and evil and not be detected through scrying or something like that. When I hear this is now I'm wondering how pain would work as a plot point in an RPG. I mean, just having your character be in pain would be boring. There are other games that do it. The first one that comes to mind is Blades in the Dark. So Blades in the Dark does have a hit point level style system called stress, and then if you take too much stress, you check mark a box of trauma, and you have up to 4 check marks before your character's done. And trauma is a catch-all for a number of side effects, and you get to pick those side effects. Some of them are mental, some are physical, and you get to pick what trauma. And usually, the narrative decides what the trauma is. And some of that trauma is like broken bones and constant pain and things like that, open wounds, stuff like that. Heathen says, "I wonder what would happen to a high-level paladin in Plague-Mort." I don't know. Maybe the residents there will be scrambling towards them to be healed. It could be just an unconscious, hey, this person is someone that needs to be um, um, uh, almost worshipped in a way. Although I could see clerics coming down here too, a Mother Teresa style figure of healing and trying to save the souls and things like that. I mean, that is one method of war that the other planes we don't often talk about with the other planes. And it's like, maybe it's not it's a war of ideology, not necessarily blades. And so there could be missionaries coming down to Plague-Mort to try to save as many souls as they can and heal people that are suffering, or at least make their suffering less. Deadman says there are even layers of the abyss that are good aligned, and many that have fortresses that are good aligned, which kind of feeds into the into the chaos of the abyss. Yeah. And yeah, Shice, yes, as DBJ in Thanatos, there are plenty of bolt holes you can hide in. Yep. Let me see if I can find. I'm going to try to find some. When I Heathen says never played Blazing Dark, would love to try. Yeah, and high level clerics might go down to convert. Yeah, definitely. And now would they get all the way down into the abyss? Maybe not. But Plague-Mort would definitely be like a stop along the way as well. And remember, demons are a chaotic lot. So how they look, how they appear, even it is a bit of chaos. If I'm not mistaken, souls are rendered and stripped of their personality when they go down into the abyss, and then are cobbled back together, and eventually they can rise up in level based on their cruelty to others around them. The demons kind of eat themselves. They're so they have no there isn't any kind of organization with demons. They're pretty much just mindless hordes in many ways. The more intelligent demons um, want, instead of them being mindless, what they do is they send out the mindless to create certain types of reactions out of the populace. And um, so there are ancient demons who do have intelligence that are still chaotic. And what they do is either they have multiple plans laid out and they haven't decided which plan they want to do, or they're like Littlefinger from Game of Thrones. They want to instill chaos and then rise above using chaos as a ladder. And so it's pretty interesting. And I think mixing and matching and using different types of physical characteristics is pretty cool. And then of course converting that over to mental characteristics. Yeah. When Heathen says, but once converted, would a new convert be able to escape Plague-Mort? Now, there's nothing specific that prevents any petitioning soul from leaving one gate town to go to the other. What I feel is happening is that a person, let's say a person naturally passes away or they're murder killed, and their soul comes here. Some of them don't recognize that they're dead, and this is the place that they're out at, the gate town that they're at is just the continuation of the life that they were leaving, continuation of the life they were leading and leaving when before they got here. So when they see all the death and destruction and the undead, it was already in their heads during their life when they were alive, and then when they come here, it just extends further out past that. So I think some people don't even realize that they're dead in the first place. I think they're just they just have an existential it's the physical representation of their existentialism, and they don't realize it. Now there's others who do realize it. I'm gonna throw this back up here at the abyss. There's others who do realize it, and they may feel like they deserve to be here and don't see themselves as being able to leave. Like a player character could say, hey, you can get out of here. And that person's like, get out of here. Like, I didn't think there was even a possibility. So psychologically, they may not think they could leave. And then lastly, there's the ones who get here and they're like, hell no, this is bullshit. Like, I'm the fuck out of here, right? And they're just like, it's, screaming at the PCs, like, please get me out of here. Here's the problem, though. If you're chaotic evil and you arrive here and you're like, please get me out of here, the other planes of existence probably don't want you. And sure, you could beg and plead, but they might have a good reason to kick your ass back down to the plane that you came from. So there's a little bit of the I could see there being issues, which is would be very cool and story wise. That what if a I don't know, a missionary or a missionary group brings up dozens of people out of the abyss to bring their souls up to the upper planes, and the upper planes are like, doors closed, right? It's like missionaries might be kicked out just because of their missionary work. I could see missionaries being kicked out of like Mount Celestia and stuff like that. Like, listen, I get what you're trying to do. You ain't got to go home, but you got to leave here. They're infecting everybody with their freedom and chaos. We've been beating people senseless to make for their life to be better up here. Anyway, so let's get into the nature of the abyss and talk about the fact that Deadman did bring up the fact that it is true there are good places down in the abyss, And why would there be? All right, so the infinite layers of the abyss, sometimes known as demon hold, is the home plane of demons and is known for being infinite in size and depth. Found between the windswept plane of pandemonium and the prison plane of um, carceri, this plane is considered to be mildly evil and mildly chaotic, though that doesn't mean it's safe by any stretch of the imagination. The demons and other evil creatures who roam these layers see the only way to gain power is to enforce their will over others, be it by enslaving them to the demon armies in the Blood War or to use violence to impose their will. The plane itself shares many of the same traits as demons, though it acts in a far more devious manner. Littering the top layer of the plane are conduits that lead to almost every layer in the abyss, though few are marked and even fewer are reliable. Some layers might have only one-way portals and be impossible to escape until someone, typically a powerful abyssal lord, releases you, or the conduit might take you to a world that appears to be the prime material plane, except that the plants feed off of blood instead of sunlight. Due to the assumed infinite number of layers on this plane, it can be difficult to know exactly where you are when you take a conduit, though several layers have been civilized by the demons and actively encourage and protect traders to their cities. And so I would dare say that the abyss is one big infinite DM fiat MacGuffin location, right? So in other words, even the act of having a place that has goodly people in it actually falls into what chaos is. And the evil part of it too kind of would probably benefit from this, if for no other reason to convince goodly peoples to come here, make them feel comfortable, and then start pulling at their morality and ethics one strand at a time, if for no other reason than to torture them and drive them insane. Um, so finding out like which plane has what conditions, um, finding something stable down in the abyss in a way, of course, is counter to what chaos is, which makes sense for it to be here. There's also, who's to say that um, the good people down here, the stable places in the abyss, are going to be here the next time the players come? You know, just because just because something doesn't make sense doesn't mean people won't try to move against it, right? So there's also the idea that there are some planes of existence that are just there, and it's nothing but contested between everybody else. And as you try to impose, different powerful entities try to impose their will, oh, sure, it's stable for now, but, rest assured, maybe that person's going to get backstabbed in the next 10 minutes and it's all for naught. Known as the home plane of demons, the abyss is a chaotic evil plane built on the assumption that might makes right. While demons largely rule most of the known layers, other creatures, all evil and chaotic in nature, can be found in many of the layers. These creatures include undead, bodocs, renegade devils, corrupted mortals, and more. While the demon princes are considered to be the rulers of this plane, many of them are simply just powerful demons instead of powerful deities. Because power is all about your dominion over others, those demons who prove themselves to be the mightiest of their kind can often find themselves ruling sections of a layer or an entire layer if they can just get others to fall beneath them. Which also brings up the fact that we all know that there's a term called feel the punishment, commit the sin. In other words, some people get punished for basically no fault of their own, and so the end result is, well, if I'm going to feel the punishment, I might as well commit the sin. So powerful demon lords, if they brutalize people too much, the population is just going to say, well, it doesn't matter whether I fall in line or not. They're just going to brutalize me. So now that just institutes rebellion, which might make people, jump up and get beat down and beat down their demon lord overlords to then have just a new person's take over, and it's the constant churn, right? So, oops. Yeah, Pandemonium wouldn't mind a couple more chaotic evils, would it? Nope. Which remember, the abyss is in between the prison plane of Carceri and Pandemonium, so I could see people being driven insane and flushed over or escaping a Pandemonium, or hey, my my word is law, and all you dissidents there, I'm gonna take you all and send you to the prison plane. So that makes sense too as well. So let's see. Co-host here, One Eye Heathen, says lawful good may not allow missionaries. They may see it as a corruption of the universe's order. Meanwhile, chaotic good and neutral good might send missionaries and allow formerly chaotic evil characters. Yeah, they may have recruited them, or they. This is a weird thing to say. They might imagine. Okay, here we go with some problematic instances. Um, using the analogy of drug addiction and psychological issues as um, a stand-in, goodly people could come here to forcefully kidnap specific individuals to bring them back to their plane of existence to to awaken them, to remove them from the disease that is evil, the drug that is evil, to show them a different way, to basically force conversion. I could see that being a thing too. And guess what? The forced conversion, is that good or is that evil? It's problematic, and I kind of like it. You know, yeah. If the abyss is one big MacGuffin, then wouldn't the entire game? Um, then the entire game would be one big MacGuffin, right? Yeah, I mean, yeah, right. Like if you want something to exist, and you want a plane and you want to have some really cool rules and like adventure, it exists. And guess what? You throw it down in the abyss, right? I mean, the whole game world. Let's be honest. If we looked at how the sausage is made, we some of us there are some players that would balk at the idea that, well, the game master just made it up. Well, of course they did. Just like the people who designed Planescape in the first place, they just made it up, right? So whether I made it up 5 years ago or made it up on the spot 10 minutes ago, what's the difference? And some people have a problem with just making it up, like purple lightsabers, because George Lucas was like, oh, I love Samuel L. Jackson. You want to be in one of my movies? I'm just going to make it up. And then it becomes canon, and there are people who take it too seriously, and it's like, no, that dude just made it up. He didn't think about it. Yeah. But anyway, Shy Squad says the Abyss would have the funniest instant murder kills. Yeah. Getting teleported to the nothing but larvae infested on your flesh layer would be funnier than getting teleported into elemental fire or earth. Ooh. I wonder if you could have. I'm imagining a comedy of errors. I don't know how you would do this, but you could have fun where the players run through the plains of the abyss, and it's just one horror after another, and they trailing off their flesh is just one horrible thing. Like down in the abyss, there's one plane that's nothing but the flaying of flesh, just blades flaying flesh. That's it. Where's their land? There isn't any. You just fall into the plane, and it's just nothing but the plane of flaying flesh, and then they run into the plane of flesh eating larva, and then they run into the plane of instant death by cold, uh, freezing to death, and then they go into another plane, which is um, all of your crimes being screamed into your ears for eternity, and then you go into another plane, and so on and so. There's a plane which is nothing but your worst nightmare made manifest, and then there's another plane, and you could just running for it, like no, just keep going from plane to plane, and, yeah, just having like sticky toilet paper, just the falling off, stuck to the bottom of their shoe. It's just one thing after another, just attached to their bodies. Like, no, no. Oh man. One Eye Heathen says forced conversion reminds me of deprogramming. Yes. Thank you for saying that. I was like, what's the word? What's the deprogramming from cults? Oh, I can't think of it. Yes, reminds me of deprogramming, which was a way of getting people out of cults in the 70s. Yeah. The paradigm has since been changed to exit counseling. Yeah. Deprogramming, I think, would be missions that good people would try to do to come down into the evil planes, and doing it by force, probably, maybe, yeah. In summation, yes, there is a real world parallel to the forced conversion. Thank you very much. Nothing but blades flaying flesh sounds like a Buddhist hell. There are instances of specific cultural worlds beyond our physical world that have been embraced by Dungeons and Dragons. Not evenly done, but there, like, for example, there is a specific plane that is like basically the Norse gods, and then there's another plane that's I think it's, is it next to the lawful evil plane, that's lawful, it's a pagoda, something, Chinese mythology or something like that. It's, anyway, yeah, there's a lot of things like that. Deprogramming equals falling into the river Styx, where you forget everything. Yeah. Oh, already a plane in the abyss for my worst nightmare. Already a thing in the books. Shit, you not. Yeah, yeah. So, what are some other stories we could tell? Oh, it's possible, and this is a feature based on if how you want to run your own Planescape, but the abyss could also be, dare I say, a dumping ground for the worst multiplanar interdimensionalities that exist in the multiverse. So in other words, instead of just the abyss just being demons, the abyss could be the name or location of other planes of existence where it's just impossible for society to exist there. And where does it go? It's attached to the abyss. And the abyss may be chaos incarnate. Like the elemental planes, the abyss may be elemental in its chaos. And it just so happens that demons can live here, but that's just a side effect. So one mission could be for player characters to do the fetch quest, find the person, place, or thing that has been relegated off into the farthest reaches of the multiverse, i.e., the farthest reaches of the abyss. Basically trying to sneak or battle their way past demons to get to some layers that even demons won't go to retrieve retrieve a lost hero or a monument or an arcane weapon, or find a monastery that's been lost or something like that, where like Dead Man brought up, there are places where there are outposts of good, maybe they just can't get back, and they've been lost maybe in the war, the blood war between the celestials and evil, that these fortresses or bulkheads or vanguards or whatever you want to call them were separated, and then over, I don't know, using the physics of the multiverse, they've just gotten so far away that they just can't come back. And the demons haven't been able to get rid of these good people, but they also know they'll never be reinforced, and the players might be there to reinforce them, to say, hey, screaming down the bottomless well of evil, we're coming for you, kind of thing, and give them a little bit of hope to say, hey, maybe we will be able to save them. And what a great low-level party to save a high-level powerful entity that is in like a cocoon or a stasis, just holding on to their just little bit of light and cocooning themselves, and knowing that the evil entities could never take out a solar or planar, planetar type of angelic being, but that angelic being is by themselves and they're trapped down in there, and the PCs have to go and wake them up or something. This is when I either say, yeah, I got to get head to bed. So nice chatting with you all. I'll listen to the show as I get ready for bed. Good night. Hey, have a great one as well. Thank you very much for being here. You're up a hell of a lot earlier than I am. Yeah. In D&D, hell yes, and that might be part of the deprogramming we are discussing. Collecting some water from the sticks might be one stage in the larger campaign, making them forget who they are. And it maybe making them forget who they are and then reintroducing them to their past acts, and with fresh eyes being able to see themselves from the outside and then trying to deprogram them and recondition them. That might be kind of cool. Deadman says it was the 471st layer called Androline or Androline. I'm going to pronounce it Androline. It contained an army of Eladrin children protected by a Kyren, several Celestials, multiple Holophants, Moon Dogs, Coatl, and Foo creatures. Wait, let me see that. No, where's the list? Uh, yeah. Let me see if I can get some information here. Deep Deep in the abyss rests a phantasmagoric realm of horror that is also a bastion of hope. Though racked by constant bloody warfare and inhabited by legions of wicked Tenari, the land of Androlin attracts powerful beings of good to its rolling hills and flowered fields. Perhaps here, more than anywhere else in the abyss, the conflict is defined in terms of good and evil rather than upon evil devouring different shades of itself. Such has it been in Angeline since the days immediately following the Age Before Ages, for the heart of the layer's struggles was forged before the Obriths lost in the abyss. Wow. The Pale Knight finally misled Royal Consort, Mother of Demons, pursued the bound children. First, a noble Kyren arrived, followed by Foo creatures, Holophant, and a pack of moon dogs. By the time the third Coatl had arrived, an all-out war had broken out on Androlin, a bloody, senseless, savage conflict that continues to the present day. Ascodel himself died on Androlin, protecting the children he had unwittingly betrayed, and even Queen Morwell's consort, Feyrinal, continues the tradition of his predecessor, spending much of his time personally overseeing the defense of the innocent Eladrins trapped on Androlin. Yeah. That's awesome. And what a great story too. And also, let's whenever you hear, and this is just my own headcanon, whenever we hear the terms never, always, cannot, will not, like for example, if someone says the abyss, the 666 layered abyss is completely chaotic evil, it never is anything else, really, never, ever. Come on, that doesn't make any sense. And so 5e is trying to deprogram us, and we will not succumb to, right. Oh man, but dead man, yes, you are absolutely correct that um the fact that there are goodly peoples down in the abyss, and that i I in a weird way I take issue with a plane of existence knowing that you are not of the alignment of that plane. I feel like it's more subtle. I feel like if you are a good person, lawful, neutral, or chaotic good, and you come down into the abyss, the worst place ever, it's not that the plane knows, or even the denizens know your alignment. I mean, let's be honest, there are demons that can sense alignment. But that aside, what I think is the environment itself entices you to become part of the system. So if you go to Mechanist and you're crazy and I don't like to follow rules, you're either going to get kicked out or you're going to change to become part of the system. And I think the Abyss is just a place that to scramble out, you're going to have to do some nasty things to get out. Or in your fight against all the nastiness, your the environment itself causes you to question your own, to erode away your own morality and ethics until you're part of the system in the first place, no matter what you say to outsiders. For example, I can imagine that there are not petitioners. I could see chaotic evil missionaries traveling out of the abyss, white robed and golden smiles and the whole nine yards, because they feel like the abyss is the purity of being released from all the rules of society. So, um, and it could be very enticing for people who are held under the thumb of very lawful communities where you don't have the right to do what you want. You Everything has a rule. Everything is in its place. And when you're growing up, how it's the classic story of children getting older and leaving the home because they've been under the thumb of their parents that from their point of view has oppressed them. And so I could see chaotic evil being enticing. Now, if it's filled with plague and murder and backstabbing and liars and deception, I don't, you know, that part of it might not seem kind of cool. But again, it could be the dumping ground of everybody that's failed in any of the other planes, and people just come here to like, you know, to oops to a place so that when you're at the bottom level of your life and you feel you can't go any further, there's you can keep going further down, and the abyss could just be the place of people who have failed and they just feel like there's nothing left for them to do, and they don't care about anybody else because they're so um the world doesn't exist beyond their animal desires. And if that means stealing it and murder killing somebody else next to them to get what they want, whether it's a piece of bread or sexual gratification or uh, uh, a shiny little trinket, and take that from somebody else, maybe there's nothing more than animals. And we live in a world where some would say that already exists in our present day in many places, and I wouldn't disagree with them. Right. Lastly, before we get out of here, let me shotgun some other ideas that are possible. Again, the rescue idea, the player characters are there to reinforce goodness down there. Um, it could be that there are um, evil people that have sent out a desire to be rescued from this place. They don't know how to get out, they just want to get out. And the player characters may have to decipher who it was or which grouping or faction or whatever is the one that's willing to work with the good people. There could also be in the war against good and evil of ideology. Maybe some of the evil people are trying to get or don't want to keep getting their asses kicked by the good people, and the players might be envoys to try to broker some kind of deals or something like that, knowing that those deals could be broken any moment. Um, Also, the player characters there might be a desire for the player characters to work with the lawful evil, lawful neutral entities and those in between to establish some kind of order in the more chaotic and or evil locations in the lower planes, sending lawful neutral and lawful evil leadership down into the abyss, down to rule over our carceri, to rule over levels of the abyss would also be a great idea for the players to be involved in. Also, if the players get sent to the abyss, maybe they have to map their way out by finding out what level are we on. If we're down at level 168, do we have to go up one level each? And how many levels is there a 37% chance we're going to find a level where we instantly die? So how do they navigate their way? Well, that means they're going to have to question people to figure out how to plan their way to get sailing the river Styx or something like that. And the boatman is like holding out their hand, and the PCs only have a couple of coins to give them, and the boatman's like, you're at level 64, sorry, you got to get out. And the players may need to talk with people who are all liars and deceivers and find out what the truth is to navigate past and not stop at the level of instant death, right? No one wants to go to the level of where all they do is pick out your eyes for eternity, you know. Yeah. The classic MacGuffin for an Abyss mission, hell drugs, because the Abyss got the best herbs, man. Yeah. I'm sure there's plenty of demons that are like, oh, paladins, you're harsh and my mellow, right? Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, the allegory of like drug addiction kind of fits. Hey, what happens to all those warlocks that break their warlock pacts? Boom, right back down here, right? That may be a thing as well. Also, maybe the player characters are trying to, especially if they are despicable player characters, maybe they're trying to organize their own rebellion, and a little like herding cats. It could be a little bit difficult to do that with chaotic evil people, but if they're not all chaotic evil, or at least the player characters have enough intimidation and force combined with enough incentive to not get the people to just run away like trying to herd cats. Maybe it's necessary for the player characters to assemble some kind of organizational feature to travel through the planes of the abyss to either go deeper or to escape out of it. Yeah, where a demon gets an ancient blue dragon hooked on abyss herbs. Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, where a demon get an ancient blue dragon hooked on blue herbs, man? Yeah, drug addiction. Ever read the Book of Vile Darkness? No, I've never read it. Never read it. And it's a big gap in my nerdology. I don't know why I've never read it. Um, Never read the Book of Vile Darkness. Never read Fatal. Never read. There's an opposite to the Book of Vile Darkness um, that deals with justice and goodness and stuff. But yeah, actually, despite the fact that like you're kind of being a little silly, it actually makes sense. What if there's something that can only be found in the abyss because of the chaos that exists down there? So it could be components, herbs, creatures, um, concoctions, whatever. Like there might be things that can only they can't exist in any place with any semblance of that makes sense. So non-Euclidean shapes, something bigger on the inside than the outside, things that uh, the idea that you can see something from a distance and reach out and grab it and pinch it between your fingers, and then that thing that looks like it's miles away is actually so small in the palm of your hand now, and weird shapes and things. Maybe it can only be possible to be formed here or found here to then be removed, and the player characters are here to remove that thing. The End King says, before I go, ultimately, the disease in Plague-Mort could be the nature of evil. All who come here carry the seed in some way. There is no quarantine because everyone is infected. Yeah. Um, how many of these missionaries, how many of these paladins go down here, and when they go back home, they think in their head, man, they start like maybe just a little bit. They start pushing against the chains of tradition. You know what? How many times have we in our life been jealous of people who don't follow the rules, who live in a world in their head where they have no rules? And I remember as kids, I used to be pissed off like, man, they get to do whatever they want. And of course, being told, yeah, but their parents don't care about them, right? And of course, they had short lives and things like that. But in the interim, I could see. Yes, yeah, Fatal. That's not D&D and isn't some kind of yes, yeah, rape fantasy for shit for perverts. Yes, it is. That's what I've heard. Anyway, I've never had any. All I know is that there is a random table for like anal circumference or something like that. It's pretty nasty. Shai says, Vile Darkness is totally usable for normal games. It tells you how to create plausible villains who really are evil as fuck. Yeah. Also, if we want to get away from my big bad evil guy has to have a reason for being evil, and for my evil guy to be sympathetic. you know what? We're in the abyss. You don't really need to have sympathy for any of these evil people down here. I mean, on one hand, we are a bit like, oh, we want to be highbrow about our creativity, right? But on the other hand, let's not forget that it's about beating ass and taking names. And sometimes, just sometimes, we should have some evil entities out there who should have their asses beat. And what greater way than to have the excuse that, oh no, they're from the abyss, go ahead and beat ass. Also, if you want to have hordes of creatures and make player characters feel like badasses, have clump all the hit points together. Okay, so all these entities, they have 10 hit points apiece. There's 20 of them. So they have a bank of 200 hit points. Whatever, if you do 50 points of damage, you kill 5 of them, right? And then just have the player characters just fight so long that they're just standing on piles of demons. And what kind of classic fun image is that, where you see a pile of demons, PCs at the top, just like slaying them, slicing through them, and blasting them, and things like that. Yep. Chai Squad says, so it's decided November 6th to 6 to 9 equal. So Week of the Abyss, 4 days for an infinite number of layers. Should be doable, so we can procrastinate on the upper planes. Yeah, because it's a little bit boring. Getting down into there's a shit ton of. Let me share this out. Hold on. Share this tab instead. Yeah, before I go, yeah, looking at this layer. I mean these names here: Black Blizzard, Broken Scale, Endless Maze, the Flesh Forges, the Gates of Heaven, level 77 in the Abyss. Damn pop-ups, fuck. Is there anything written here? Oh. Controlled by Munkir and Nikir. Munkir and Nikir. There's nothing there. Oh, that's a shame. How about Lifebane? Level 142. Does this thing have it? Nope. Fuck. Lifebane is the home of Chamash. So at least they have an individual that rules over them, and then you can find out what kind of entities they are and come up with ideas there. There might be fucking. I get it. Let's see if there's any further results. This is alphabetical order. So, Rift, Rotting Plain, Scalding Sea, Shadow Sea, Sighing Cliffs, Sixth Pyre, Smaragd, Soul Freeze, Thanatos. There it is. There's Thanatos. There's Torrent, Vudra. Yeah, the Writhing Realm. Let's see if there's any detail here. Maybe a lot of these are just empty just because of where am I at? Fandom, gamelore.fandom.com, but it is controlled by Uganek. And let's see if there's information on this individual. But it does tell you where it's from. Portfolio, entity, race, gender, realm name, Writhing Realm. So, okay, all right. And thought it would be more interesting than that. But I'm sure there's easy way to look it up. Let's see. Random idea. Okay, all right. Shai says, okay, at least on the upper planes, we get to talk about the harmonium and other lawful good fasters. Yeah. You're going to be good or else, right? Yeah. Random idea. What if every temporary dimension made by a spellcaster was actually in the abyss? Since that realm is chaotic enough for that kind of thing. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Every. Yeah. Players are like, I'm a powerful spellcaster. And like all their magic and all their crap that they dump down in there is just in the abyss. Trash heaps of player characters. Yeah, but it does make sense as well, which begs the question, could you stop a powerful, I don't know, I'm pulling this out of my ass, a 37th level spellcaster that's been dominating the prime material plane and the players go down into the abyss to shut off the power that is like their nuclear engine of spell casting, because they can cast 11th level spells or something like that, whatever. By the way, look up this Blood War comic book, the Lament of Zaraxus Cambion, hero of the Blood War. It's short and awesome. All right. And Deadman says Dragonlance made that a thing. Oh, the idea that you could shut off someone's power source because their power comes from a different place. I don't remember many details about Dragonlance. Lament of Zaraxus. I'm going to look that up. All right, guys. Well, anyway, I'm using too much of your time, but thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Uh, yes, we're going to continue our conversations. Actually, I don't even know what tomorrow is going to be. Well, we'll figure it out. It's going to be on a lower level plane. I'm sure I can find it out real quick. But you guys have a great day. Thank you very much for spending your valuable time here with the channel RPG with DBJ. Of course, I am your host, DBJ. Have a great one. I hope you're able to make some kind of change. Peace.